Yeah, please rise. Thank you, ladies. For those that don't know me, my name is David Richards. I'm married to Susan, who is Katheryn's daughter. For those of you that do know me, I'm sorry. We'll have a roping in over 24 East Timor, so after that, the invitation will be due by the end of life. Thank you, Linda, for that. I'd like to thank Katheryn Webster, looking the chorister, and Melissa Blakely for being our previous. We'll now have some speakers. First one will be Karen Pedersen, the daughter. I think she's doing a life sketch. Right? Okay. And then Michelle Jansen, a granddaughter, and then Marilyn Oldblad, a sister. And we'll have a musical number by some of the grandchildren. Amanda.
It's Mandy, you know.
Mandy.
It's Mandy.
I'm not used to Amanda.
That's my professional name now.
Gabrielle, Ashlyn, and Madison. Sorry. So, Karen, you know,
Hasn't been that long since we've been together as a family, and I want to thank you for taking the time to be here to show support for one another at this difficult time. Katheryn Eda Woodruff Webster was born in Salt Lake City on March 24th, 1939. She is the oldest of 4 children, herself, Marilyn, Bill, and Paula. Her dad worked at Geneva Steel at the time she was born, and later at the church office building and the church office building. Her mom worked as a nurse. Katheryn is a direct descendant of President Wilford Woodruff of the Church of Jesus Christ of Latter-day Saints. While growing up, she knew several church authorities by name because she heard about them during mealtime conversations. She lived most of her childhood at 1425 Zenith Avenue. She attended Highland Park Elementary. Her mom did not know how to drive, so she and her siblings walked to school. They did not serve lunch at school, so everyone walked home for lunch and then walked back to school again. She says she loved the tricky bars at recess and was very good at twirling. She and her siblings made houses in the backyard with blankets and clothespins over the clotheslines. Her dad bought a board that was 8 feet by 12 inches wide, waxed it up really, really well, and put it against a chair to make a slippery slide. She was lucky enough to be baptized in the tabernacle font by her dad. Katheryn attended Irving Junior High and later graduated from Highland High. She played the viola in the orchestra. She was very social and had lots of friends. She went to many dances and ward activities. On one date, she and her girlfriend double dated and went to Saltaire and rode on the Grand Racer. She said she was terrified and couldn't even scream. They danced in the ballroom overlooking the Great Salt Lake. She met Emery at the drugstore where he worked and delivered medicine on his motorcycle. They went to many church activities together and often went on car rides. His family even took her on a family trip to California. Afterwards, he joined the Army Reserves and went off to summer camp for training. When he returned, he asked her to go steady. They were married 2 years later by Marion G. Romney in the Salt Lake Temple, June 15, 1956. She was 17 and he was 20 years old. Emery and Katheryn lived in the 144 Downington apartments when they first got married. Then in January of 1958, she and Dad bought a house on Louise Avenue. We had to include the price so that you could be impressed, for $13,200. It was located west of the mouth of Party's Canyon. After 3 years of marriage, Karen was born, soon followed by Diane and Susan. Emery worked in the parts department of various car dealerships. The first one was in Bountiful. Mom loved to dress Karen, Diane, and Susan up in dresses, and they would ride the bus to go visit Emery in Bountiful. Mom also took in laundry to iron for extra money. They needed more room to raise their family, so in 1963, they built a new home at 927 East, 5650 South in Murray. This time it cost $17,000, $17,100, with a monthly payment of $115. Don't believe it. They increased the family by 3 more daughters, Shelley, Lynette, and Linda. They lived there until 1978. My favorite memory was Mom letting us kids create costumes and to make up dances to perform for the parents in our backyard. We even sold tickets, and the shock of shock, the parents paid in to watch our performance. Every year, she made homemade potato donuts to give out to trick-or-treaters. It was a family project, and it took all day, and it covered the entire kitchen. Then it became unsafe to have unwrapped treats, so she stopped doing that. They built a home in Sandy, where the rest of the family were born. Christopher and the twins, I'll say it in the right order, David and Larry. I was informed I had the reversed by age. Karen was fishing, that's true too. Karen was finishing college, and Diane had just gotten married at the time. When Emery lost his job at Spartan American Motors, he found a new one as a parts manager in Brigham City. They moved all but the oldest girls to Brigham City, and they lived there for almost 30 years. Money was tight due to their growing family, so Katheryn often found part-time work to help. She worked, and we counted them up, 20 different jobs in her lifetime. A few examples, and it's only a few. She was a telephone operator at Mountain States Telephone. You know, when you pick up the phone and you call the operator, she'd be the one that answered. A temporary office worker for Kelly Girl Services. JCPenney's store selling shoes. Broadway and Weinstock's department stores. Same store, just different names because they sold out to each other. As the phone receptionist. Altaview in the LDS hospital as an outpatient receptionist. Tuga Realty, I'll say it right. Placing signs and organizing in the office. She sold fireworks for many years with grandchildren and children's health. And she was in the ASSE Foreign Exchange Student Placement, taking several students herself from Germany. And finally, she spent 20 years supervising carriers and delivering newspapers for Ogden Standard Examiner. She also spent a great deal of time in civic service. She served on parent committees of the Utah State Board of Education for the Granite School District. She worked in PTA for 25 years, moving up from the local PTA president and eventually into the state PTA board. She was proud of organizing a summer movie program for kids in both the Granite and Box Elder districts. We kids remember counting, bundling, and delivering tickets to various elementary schools. That's when we got a lot of our driving practice. We got to see the movies as well. She also ran for the Brigham City Council, but unfortunately was defeated. She and Dad owned a video store in Draper in 1983 through 1987 called Kathy's Video. We kids loved help running the store. She had tons of VHS movies and even rented portable VHS players. This was before Blockbuster was a business, so she kind of set the stage for that. And the big debate was then if VHS or Beta was going to be the popular format, because videos were just coming out. It was so cool to be able to watch movies in your own home. After she sold the business, she still bought new movies as they came out and had an awesome collection for family to borrow. Katheryn has held several church callings throughout her life. One of her favorite callings was when she was a youth leader in the Young Women, then called the YWMIA. They took the girls to an overnight camp and the girls were able to sleep in the barn's hayloft. She was pregnant at the time and couldn't climb up the ladder, so she slept in the car. She also was very involved with the ward road shows. Each ward show traveled from ward building to ward building to perform. I remember they always seemed to happen, well, they always happened in March. And so the family, that's all we did was rehearsals and road shows. Katheryn loved people and animals. She took care of a neighbor child every day from birth to kindergarten, so her mom could rest from her night job. She invited people to dinner. She had family reunion parties, ward parties, and neighbor get-togethers. We remember the sliding doors being opened so much, with people going in and out to our back patio, that the ceiling was often covered with flies. She talked to grocery store managers to get leftover displays to decorate with. We loved the tiki lamps she used for a Hawaiian-themed party. She and our neighbor once volunteered to run a ward food booth at Murray's 4th of July celebration in the park. They came up with a shredded potato and ground beef taco filling. It was a huge success. She was known by all the neighbor children as the chocolate chip cookie mom. They knew where the cookies were and would come in, grab a cookie, and run out again, even when they weren't with us kids. She was a great neighbor, often making meat pies to take to others, sharing garden vegetables, desserts, or just to visit. She has always had pets. We had pet rabbits for a while until they kept escaping their cage, and we would have to chase them all over the yard. We had 2 cockatiels, but they were very messy. We also had 2 dogs, Tina, a black cockapoo, and later a lady, a cocker spaniel. We always knew where Mom was in the neighborhood as Tina followed her everywhere, and we'd be sitting on the porch of the house she was visiting. No matter where she lived, if a stray cat showed up, she would just keep them, having 4 or 5 at a time in Brigham City. She probably would have kept the raccoons that came in the kitchen pet door one night, if we would have let her. Mom and Dad taught us children to work hard and to give service. Besides cleaning our own rooms, we had specific chores we had to do every Saturday morning before we could go play. We mowed the lawn, dusted, vacuumed, folded clothes, cleaned bathrooms, weeded the garden, and loaded and unloaded the dishwasher. Yes, we had a portable dishwasher that you hooked up to the faucet, and it looked like a big washing machine box, and it rolled around the floor on wheels. Mom felt it would help keep us kids from getting sick so often. So we felt very trendy, but anyway. She knew those chores would teach us skills that we would need later in life. She made sure her children had opportunities to learn. We took dance and tumbling lessons, piano, and were involved in scouting. She had fear of water and didn't know how to swim, so she made sure all her children had lessons. None of these activities lasted long due to the cost, but we did have exposure. She supported us in choir, band, track, art, pep club, 4-H, scouting, and a mission. She requested repeatedly that we go to college. It was almost like a daily mantra. You will go to college. She regretted that she had not made that choice herself. She loved reading and always had a new book. She enjoyed going on family trips to national parks, California, and Canada in our little jet trailer, often visiting relatives along the way. I remember that at night, she would read to us on one particular trip about King Arthur. In later years, we would go to our cabin in Fairview. Porcupines would often wake us up chewing on the wood of the cabin. We knew when Mom was angry about something, so as we were coming home, we knew she was angry because she would either rearrange the furniture in the house, she even moved the refrigerator from one side of the kitchen to the other, there's not an outlet there. Or she would put a for sale sign in the yard. She took her mom into her own home after her father's death and took care of her for the last 10 years of her life. Her own health has been difficult at times. We call her our bionic woman due to having all her joints replaced. Delivering the newspapers in the middle of the night in all kinds of weather also took a toll on both Mom and Dad's health. She often asked the boys and her grandkids to stay overnight to help with folding and delivering newspapers. Dad had skin cancer earlier in his life with sores reappearing periodically and was diagnosed with Parkinson's disease. Mom couldn't take care of him alone. Both were diabetic and had heart issues. So in the past 2 years, her children have had to move Mom and Dad multiple times to give additional support with their everyday life tasks. They lived in a senior living center and then 2 different assisted living centers, and a few rehab centers to help with recoveries from surgeries. Dad died last December, and Mom has had a hard time being without him. They had been together 65 years. Her health declined significantly. We children have been blessed to be able to care for her and spend time with her individually. She quietly passed away with family in attendance. Her influence on our family will be greatly missed. She wrote in a letter, "I do things for my family and others because I'm a giving person and it makes me feel good and wanted." She told others that her wealth was not in worldly goods, but in her family. Mom, as you once sang to us as babies, "We love you, a bushel and a peck, a bushel and a peck, and a hug around your neck." Goodbye, Mom, we're gonna miss you.
So, yesterday as I was on my way here from Denver, my mother told me I was in the program. So please forgive me if this is not very polished. I have a lot of thoughts, but nothing really cohesive. I do want to say that I'm so very honored and privileged that I have this opportunity. So for those of you that don't know me, I'm Michelle Jensen. My mother, Paula, is Katheryn's sister. And so I speak for my mother, and I'm also speaking for my brother, Caleb, who had a special bond with Katheryn also. As I was sitting back there listening to Karen, a lot of that was things I was going to say, by the way, thank you. Sorry. I was looking out the window and I was looking at the mountains and the trees and seeing the birds flit around, and I just thought this is such a perfect venue for Katheryn's funeral. because that was the thing that came to mind, is that she did love nature and animals, and she just loved life. That's one of the things I think I got from her, is how much she loved life. She loved having people around her. She loved her children, her grandchildren. I think she adored having them there with her. And yes, she loved all the animals. I remember going up there and Brigham City and seeing all the cats, and of course, I love that too. So those were, and there's the chickens in the backyard, just different things. It was fun to go to her place. So that was one of the things that my mom said that she remembered also, that growing up, Katheryn always had something going on. The barbecues, parties for the ward, product placement parties, bridal showers that she would do. Just something was always going on at the house. And my mom, who's quite a bit younger than Katheryn, would often be there. And it felt like that was partially her home too. Katheryn always welcomed her. And that was one of the wonderful things about Katheryn. Everybody was welcomed. It didn't matter if you were a little bit different or not the perfect person, you were welcome in her home. And she was always happy to give some time and give time to different people. But I think that's one of the things that Katie really appreciated about Katheryn. There was a time that when he was in high school that he came out to Brigham City and lived with her for a while. And he helped with the paper route and helped her with some other things, but he felt in some ways that she was almost a second mother, that she was someone that he could go to and talk to. And as he became a truck driver who was driving all over the place, that was something that was very important to him. Occasionally he had an opportunity to come into Brigham City, and he would stop the truck stop there and call Katheryn, and she would always come over. And he really appreciated that. To know that he had a home here if he needed it. He was very, very upset that this last summer we were out here for my grandfather's funeral, and we tried to get him to see Katheryn and couldn't. And he was very upset by that because he really, really wanted to see her again. We had the opportunity to see her a couple years ago, her and her both, and have lunch with him and spend some time. And I'm so very grateful for that chance that we had. But to have missed the opportunity this summer was very, very hard, my brother. When I called him to tell him that Katheryn had passed, he got off the phone very, very quickly. I think he had to go spend a long time. And he was disappointed he couldn't be here today. I just wanted everyone to know that he so wanted to be here. But as a truck driver for FedEx, this was a very important time. He couldn't take the time off. But he has very, very fond memories of Katheryn and memory. Spending time at their house, not only living there, but other times where he's been able to go out. I was thinking, so my mom and I, we have been reminiscing the last few days, I'm sure like everyone else here has, and could think of all kinds of stories. But for me, I remember Yellowstone, and I remember seeing the trailer in front of us, and it was right down the road. And my mom said, Emily and your dad were so embarrassing to see you. As they talk back and forth. She's like, really? Anyway. And she mentioned the William Hornet. I don't know what it was called. I should say it was called. But I do remember that trip to Yellowstone, and what a wonderful time it was to share that with Katheryn and Randy. And also with Kevin. I was talking about Mom, he brought up the porcupines, because I'm like, that's the first time I saw porcupines. So being able to share those times, to be able to go and learn something new, a little bit about camping, being out in the forest and how we have to do different things. I think that's one of the places I fell in love with nature. Let me look at what I have on here. So Kaylin described Katheryn as a person with a big heart. I already said that she was very accepting of others, but she's also generous with her time and talents and willing to give as much as she could to others to help them, to serve them, to make them happy. And that was something that was very, very made a huge impact on Kayla. And I've seen how that is something that he's starting has incorporated into his own life, is thinking about others. And I know that what Katheryn, for example, was huge to him. When I look at her, I saw a woman that was very strong, very independent. She was a risk taker. I look at the things that she did, all those different jobs that you shared. Some of them, there was a huge risk for her to take to do those type of things. Running for city council, owning a video store before other people really knew what it was. And some of those risks didn't always pay off, but she didn't ever give up. She just kept going. She kept trying things. How many of us can say you do the same? So I thought that was amazing that she would always just keep trying and learn from each venture that she had. She was a woman that was always on the move, always doing something. I don't think I ever really saw her sit down that much until she got a little bit older. And then thankfully she sat down because I needed to. And she lived her life to the fullest. Was a huge, or is a huge example for each and every one of us to always be willing to reach out, try new things. When we're challenged, to continue to move forward and face those challenges head on. That was the woman that she was always willing to do that. So the one thing that my mom, some of the things that she's shared are things that we've already kind of discussed, but I want to just say, she did say about her marriage at 17, that she never regretted marrying Emery, that her life with him was wonderful, but she does wish she had waited so that she could have gone to school and done a few of those other things before she was married. So that was something that she just shared recently with my mom. My mom loved Katheryn very, very much. They had a close bond and they talked often. They didn't always get along. They did not always agree, but they knew each other very well. And my mother looked up to Katheryn a lot and will definitely miss her. She had a profound effect on those around her, including my family. We will miss her.
What a wonderful posterity Katheryn has. All of you, just wonderful family. It is indeed a privilege to be able to say a few words in honor of my sister Katheryn, her sister Marilyn, who spent 30 years of my life living back east, and so I missed a whole lot of the excitement of her growing up and the adventures that all of you have had with her. And one thing that has always impressed me is, as mentioned, that she is a descendant of Wilford Woodruff, and actually she's had a lot of his characteristics, which I thought was very, very interesting. Her basic facial features and just in general appearance, she's always been very good looking, and he was good looking too. Even though he was short, so some of you have inherited the short genes like me. Sorry about that, but that's the way it goes. But some other things that he was known for, that she has seemed to exemplify also, that he was not afraid to work very hard. He worked hard at whatever he did. And his life was filled with service to his family, to his church, and to his community. And those are the things that have been mentioned that Katheryn has indeed carried out in her life too. I'm not going to extemporate, so I did make a few notes. And I remember growing up with her that she was always very pretty. and mature beyond her years. And she kind of adopted the role as mother's assistant disciplinarian. And so us younger ones I got well acquainted with that side of her as we were growing up. And I know that she wanted always to go to college, as has been mentioned, but her marriage and children came very early to her. But I know that she's encouraged the education with her children. And for her, her family has always been the most important thing in her life, and you can see that it has paid off. And she was married, I figured, for 64 years, if I got it right, to Emery, through an earthly life of ups and downs like we all experience, that this life is designed to give us trials and testing and help us to learn and to grow it so that we can develop the characteristics that enable us to live back with our Father in heaven and have eternal progression. And they indeed get lots of learning experiences while they clear through the health that they had, as mentioned, and their economic changes too. But I admired them that they stayed faithful to their challenges and above all to each other and to their family through everything that they went through, that they were a family and we knew it. And they managed to stay active in the church all through their life, and they, both of them died with a current temple recommend, which I thought was wonderful. I was hoping that we'd be able to go through the temple with her, but this COVID thing has kind of messed up a lot of things for a lot of people. And Katheryn and Emery, they were not afraid of hard work, and I always admired the beautiful homes that they had and gardens and they just did all that themselves. Emery had he just went ahead and did things and didn't hire things out like some rest of us had to. And of course, one of the greatest trials that they had was losing their independence by having to go to care facilities because of the health challenges that they had. But the family tried to make it as good as they experienced as they possibly could for, and I really think they did a pretty good job of it. And like all our other experiences, Katheryn was able to turn this to good. And I think that it helped her to get closer to most of her family, and I know it certainly did to me and to Paula and to Bill. And she was finally close enough that I could visit her more often than what I did before and have wonderful conversations with her. And as the perfect hostess that she always was, she would invite us to stay and have lunch with her at the facility. And the places that she was at really did have good food. So we enjoyed that. Anyway, I won't prolong these because I know about a wonderful program with all the grandchildren coming up. But I do hope that all of you will realize that we'll follow in Katheryn's example and we'll follow and honor the great heritage that you have. And I say this in the name of Jesus Christ. Amen. Amen.
Don't be shy, those were seen.
It's so good to see you guys, even in this kind of a situation. I miss that we haven't been able to see each other more frequently. Today, I apologize for the voice, apparently I just didn't want to show up. But I've just been thinking a lot about Grandma these past few weeks, or this past few days, I should say. And I just wanted to share some of the things that I remember growing up with Grandma. Grandma had a really big heart. She truly cared about everybody, from opening her doors to anyone who needed it, to making sure that she came to all the baby blessings, baptisms, birthday parties. She always had family barbecues all summer long. And whenever you come over, she'd grab you and just smother you. She'd put kisses with you. You know, 3 or 4 or 5 kisses in a row on your cheek. She loved to know what was going on in my life and would call me to check in to see how I was doing, how family was, what was new in my life. And then she'd catch me up on anything and everything that was going on with the rest of it. And I mean, the rest of it. Everybody. I'm sure that she'll still find ways to continue catching up with us. She'd love to know what was going on with us so much. She'll catch up with her again. Growing up, I have lots of memories of going to help Grandma with lots of different adventures that she had going on in her life. There was the video rental store. I loved going to go visit her there and look at what seemed like all the endless VHS tapes all over the walls and the shelves. And anytime we get to come over for a sleepover, we would stop at the store. We'd get to pick out any movie we wanted, sometimes one for each of us. And then we'd head back to our house and we'd watch them while she popped air popcorn from her fancy machine. And we would drink Sunny D mixed with Sprite. And then we get to watch those movies too, like watching those movies. Then as I got a little older, I was asked if I wanted to come help out with the fireworks stand. It was my first job. We'd help out for 3 or 4 days in a row, and it'd be a grandma like $50, and I felt like the richest girl in the whole world for getting to work at the fireworks stand. And to a 10 and 12-year-old, you know, this seemed like an awesome experience. I felt so grown up. The boys, my sister Desiree and I, would spend long, hot summer days messing around, telling jokes and stories while helping to grab the fireworks for Grandma and Grandpa to the customers. Sometimes I was even allowed to put the money in the cash box. I just felt very grown up. Grandma and Grandpa would bring us drinks and treats, and one time Grandma brought me some sparkly fingernail polish so I could paint everybody's nails while we were spending the day there. I always felt very special when seeing Grandma was around. As a teenager, there was the sleeping around. Grandma would go take a nap, but Desiree and I would stay with the boys all night long, waiting for the papers to be dropped off. But then we would bundle them up and we would spend the early morning hours of the morning driving around with Grandma in that big old green Suburban. We listened to music, laugh, play, and yes, deliver those papers. I always felt so cool growing up to be able to tag along with the older boys, and I was included in this grown up job. At the end of the route, it was a tradition to stop at the Flying J, and we'd always get to pick out a treat before heading home to get some sleep. Come to think of this, Grandma always let us to get treats at the end, so maybe that's why I thought she was such a good grandma. These treats were always in habit. I always thought Grandma was just so beautiful. When she would take me along with her to church, I'd love to just stop and watch her finish doing her hair and her makeup. She had these big, beautiful clip-on earrings, and she wore these long, beautiful beaded necklaces. And if ever I got restless and sat at a meeting, she would just pass them over to me and let me play. And I would happily spend several of the meeting making rope ladders or clipping her jewelry on the things, dressing up and pretending I was a princess. She didn't ever seem to get mad at me when I did it, and maybe she did. I just don't remember. I just remember having fun with her. Time with Grandma did mean it was time to work. There was always something that needed to be done whenever I would come over for a visit. When she lived at the yellow house in Sandy, I used to get so mad when she'd ask me to come in and clean the bathrooms for her. David, Larry, and Chris lived there. Why did they have to clean the bathrooms? But after the chores were done, we get to go and do pretty much whatever we wanted to do afterwards. We could go play wherever. And at Yellow House, there was this little door that opened up to this little secret room that had toys all in it. It was just like this little short door. I just remember it was the coolest playroom ever, and I could spend hours in there. And then I get to do sleepovers over there during the week, because we go, like, Mary and I went to school together, and Grandma would put the big ladder over the fence. And we climb over the ladder and go to school together, and then we come back and we were teaching there. So it was just a family reunion all day long at school. We never got anything. At Grandma's house, whenever you came over, you were asked to help with the garden with Grandma, help do the dishes and clean the kitchen, haul out things from the garage, or chase the chickens back into the pen, which, by the way, ended up being more like a chase the chicken around the yard for fun, because I didn't know chickens a lot. I was with Grandpa used to yell, "This is why we never get eggs." We always ended up working, but we always got hugs and kisses from Grandma afterwards. So always made me feel like I was appreciated and loved when I came up. Thank you, Grandma, for all of these wonderful memories. Thank you for teaching me the importance of family, of work, of helping others, and of being a good tree and working so hard. As you used to say, well, anyways, that's just how it is, I guess. I love you, Grandma, and I'm going to miss you more than I think I can realize right now. And I look forward to being able to see you again, so I can hear you call out my name and give you some more of those kisses. My name is Gabrielle. I'm his eldest daughter. I have many memories of my grandma. From the time I was born until I was about 12, we lived just a few short walks from each other, which meant we spent a lot of time there. For years, my summers were spent either at one grandparent's house or the other, roaming around the neighborhood, and I would still end up at grandma's house with my friends all the time. So we would get treats, we would get snacks, stop in and say hi, even though we probably had just been there the night before. She always wanted to make sure that we had something constructive to do with our time, so that we weren't just sitting around getting into trouble. She helped us get signed up for various activities, swim lessons, junior rockettes, summer movie program, and so much more. She always had us doing something for her. I remember how much she loved to read and would often share her books with us. When Harry Potter first came out, I remember her going to the store at midnight so that she could get the next copy of Harry Potter. Of course, she had to read it first, but when she was done with it, she made sure that she brought it over to the house so that me and Alex could read the next Harry Potter book. Another one of the memories that has always stuck with me is one of the many times we were at Grandma's house. She asked me to make some Toll House oatmeal cookies to fill her cookie jar. I gathered all the stuff from the pantry and started making cookies. And she got mad at me because I wasn't leveling off the flour the way I was supposed to. So she had to show me how to use the back of a knife to level everything off to make sure that everything was accurate in the way it was supposed to be. It seems like such a simple memory, but it stuck with me today and shaped the way I cook and bake still. But just like Andy, I too used to get mad every time I went over to Grandma's house because she always wanted me clean. I always got stuck cleaning the bathrooms every time. I knew when I went over to Grandma's house, I was gonna have to clean something. I was gonna have to do the litter box or the bathrooms or the kitchen or something. And it definitely helped me learn how to clean. I love to go out and feed the chickens oatmeal every time we visit. I thought it was so cool that my grandparents had chickens. I didn't have any other friends who grandparents had chickens or garden or anything like that, so it was kind of cool that mine had chickens. Even though they did complain about the chickens, but I still thought it was pretty cool. My grandma did a lot of things in her life, and she had a hand in a little bit of everything. She loved her family the most. Even when it came time for her to meet my now husband, I was nervous that she was gonna say something to turn him off. I even warned him that she was a tough cookie, and that I didn't know what she was gonna say. You don't know how opinionated she could be. But when she met him, they just clicked, and she would always get the biggest smile on her face whenever she saw him. And we loved talking to her. It was a highlight when we would come to visit from Colorado that we had to go see grandma, and we could just sit and talk to her. In her last days, I sat next to her and held her hand and FaceTimed Johnny and the boys because I left them at home. And even just hearing his voice and the kid's voice, she still had the biggest grin on her face. My grandma will always be such an important person in my life, and she will truly be missed. I'm so glad my children got the chance to meet her, and she loved them so very much. I'm sure Grandpa is glad that Grandma is finally done running her errands and has come back home. I love her so very much, and she will be greatly missed.
Hello, I'm Ashlyn, Larry Trim's daughter. And, one thing I do remember is that, every day on Halloween, we would, go to her house. She'd be the first house that we would go to. And, we would always ask for Kit Cars, or a Kit Kat, or a Snickers bar. And she would always make me say trick or treat every time I come to the door, no matter what. I do remember going there in the front door of the hospital because all of our children's handprints were always on it, so she didn't just clean it. It was really sparkly and you could see the reflection. I do remember leaving school some days just to go to her house, rest, watch movies, eat the cookies that she always had. Especially on the days where she came back from the salon getting her hair and nails done, she would always show me what color she wanted to do. The next time that she went on what color she was planning on thinking about doing her haircut, she just loved, she would mainly talk about the girls there that always did her hair and nails, but she loved those girls. I remember we would be sitting outside in her front yard. Just talking about honestly anything about how each family member's doing, catching up on school, how school's going, what new jobs that there's out there that I'd be interested in. I remember on some of my birthdays, if I got mad at my parents or something, I'm ready to leave grandma's. So I pack up my backpack, walk around the block to her house, maybe try to stay there a night or two. I remember me and her were just sitting in the living room / dining room, just watching the news, just talking. And all of a sudden we heard a big old boom upstairs in the attic. Turns out it was just one of the cats stuck up there. But I remember she was just "Here, go get the cat." But I just remember everything with her. And I wish I had more time before we moved to see her more. But I loved her. I remember all of her kisses that she'd give, even if I tried refusing them when I was younger because I hated the attention. But I wish I got more of it growing up. But I love her, and we're all gonna miss her. Hi, I'm Madison. I'm Chris's oldest daughter. So I have a lot of different memories that everyone else has. I live about an hour away from her, so I didn't really get to see my grandparents very often. But so I never had to do any of the cleaning and really have to like work. I was there. And we didn't go and see her very often since it was a bit of a drive, but when we went up, it was either for the beach days or for Santa Friday, we would always go. And I remember going to beach days last couple times, and they would always make sure that we got on a beach cobbler, and so we would always get that and then hurry back so then we can go look at all the booths. And so we loved seeing what we ended up getting, even if it was like the junk from the Chinese booth. You know, like you get your knockoff Pokemon cards or whatever. But she loved seeing what we got, and I remember when we would usually go up on Sundays since no one was super busy in our families those days. And every single time we would go out, we would always go out to eat. But and we would always go to Chinese food. So Chinese food kind of reminds me of grandma. We go to the Chinese buffet and just talk. I didn't really like a super big talker with her, but I just loved listening to how she would talk and what she would talk about, and just made me feel super safe and loved. And especially once we were to leave, the big old kisses made me just realize how much she loved me, and even though I wasn't there to see her very often, but she loved me a lot, and definitely missed getting those big old kisses.
I'd like to thank everyone for your memories and your thoughts. I think it's appropriate to recognize the pallbearers. Steve Richards, Trevor Hay, Justin Hay, Sean Mitchell, Andrew Feisel, Alex Feisel, Connor Mitchell, Katheryn Webster. The honorary pallbearers, Matthew Richards, Bradley Pedersen, Adam Longberg, Paxton Webster, Bracken Webster, and Keith Webster. It's going to be my opportunity to give us a few thoughts, and after my thoughts, Susan Richards will give a benediction. After the benediction of the pallbearers, come forward again. I appreciate that. Most of us are going through different thoughts, different emotions right now. And we learn in Isaiah and in Alma that Christ felt every single one of those emotions. I can't comprehend. My brain just cannot comprehend how Christ could feel every single emotion that we've ever had. But I believe that did happen. And as we go through the grieving process, there are going to be various emotions that we have. And he is the only one that knows exactly how we feel. Our friends, our parents empathize with us, but Christ knows exactly how we feel. And sometimes, as has been mentioned, things were said that were hurtful. And Christ knows that hurt. And Christ can help us forgive if we need to forgive. I know I do. He can help us forgive if we need to forgive. And he can help us through the amazingly difficult times in our lives that we turned to Him. And we allowed Him to help us through those difficult times. But it's up to each and every one of us to turn to Him, to ask Him for help. Doesn't matter how we ask. He just wants us to ask Him for help. I can't ask for you and you can't ask for me. We can pray for each other. But the ultimate responsibility is ours to turn to Him. And I'm grateful for that. I'm grateful that I can ask Him to help me forgive some of the hurt and the emotions that we go through as through the grieving process. And I say that in the name of Jesus Christ. Amen.
Our kind Heavenly Father, we're grateful to be together as a family at this time to celebrate her life, to remember the love that she shared with each of us. We're grateful to have thee in the gospel to help guide us, give us foundation, give us direction, and give us a reason to keep moving through this life and trying to better ourselves that we may return to be with our loved ones again. We're grateful for each other and ask at this time that thou may bless us with comfort, with thy peace, with thy guidance and support in our lives. At this time, we're grateful for the opportunity again of being together as a family. Bless us through the remainder of this week, this day and coming months, and how we each have to work through and to be able to help one another. And these things we pray in the name of Jesus Christ. Amen.
We'll be out in 2 minutes. All bearers of witness. Thank you very much for coming. Welcome, everybody. It's good to have you here. Chris Webster will do the dedication to the grave.
Our dear Heavenly Father, by the power of the Holy Melchizedek priesthood in which I hold, I dedicate and consecrate this burial site for Katheryn Webster, Katheryn Eda Webster, as she, for her body to remain until the time of the second coming, that she may be able to go and rise up in her perfect image, and that we'll be able to go and see her again. Also bless this area, this plot, that it will be a place of peace for those who visit, that they may be filled peace and comfort from those that are visiting and from those that of whom they are visiting, that they may be able to fill their spirit and fill of the sacrifices they made in each of our lives. And I do this in the name of Jesus Christ. Amen.
Chris, thank you so very, very much for the dedication of the grave this day. Brothers and sisters, this is a long-held tradition and one that we desire to remember this day. And that tradition is that the pallbearers have had one last opportunity to perform an act of love this day. And I believe their grandmother, and that is by escorting her to her final resting place next to Amory. The tradition is that the pallbearers are wearing boutonnieres in respect and in love. So I'd like to invite the pallbearers who at this time, would you please come forward and to place your boutonnieres upon the casket. Thank you, pallbearers, so very, very much for your service, your act of love this day. I have a long-held tradition too. And thank you so much to each of you who contributed and brought flowers to this day. These flowers are absolutely beautiful. They are gorgeous. Thank you so very, very much. However, with the cold weather that we have, especially at night, these flowers are not going to be so beautiful by tomorrow. I have a tradition that I'd like to involve each and every one of us that are here this day, and I think we're able to do so. Just as the pallbearers have had the opportunity to place their boutonnieres upon Sister Webster's casket this day, I would like to invite each and every one of us as well to take one of these flowers from these beautiful easels or from the casket spray. Then with an act of love and a memory of this very special moment, would you place that flower upon the casket as well? I'll make a promise to each and every one of you at this time. That promise is that these boutonnieres from our pallbearers, as well as the flowers that you will place on the casket, will be placed with Sister Webster into her final resting place next to Amory. It's my desire that will create a memory for each and every one of you of this most special day, that you'll always remember the opportunity that you've had to place a flower on Sister Webster's casket. And as you have the opportunity to return to this now dedicated place, to remember Brother and Sister Webster, may you always remember that you placed a flower upon Sister Webster's casket. And may you treasure that memory for many, many, many years to come. So may I just close our service this day by thanking again each and every one of you, the Webster family, the Woodruff family, friends, extended family. Thank you so very, very much for being with us on this special day. I know that you're always going to remember that the funeral is held the day before Thanksgiving. I know that. But may you also remember that it's a very, very special day. It's been a spiritual day, a sacred day for your family as well. May that be the part that we remember most. May I thank those who have assisted you here at our Mountain View Cemetery, for Crystal and for Merlin. And thank you from Jay and myself for this opportunity that you've allowed us to be part of this special day for your family. And it's our desire that this will be a tremendous and a wonderful and beautiful memory for your family for many, many, many years. So in closing, may I just ask that our Heavenly Father bless each and every one of us, not only this day, but tomorrow and the days that will come. And those days that turn into weeks, and then the weeks that will turn into months, and months that will turn into years. So thank you so very much. We also have a tradition here at the Memorial Mountain View Cemetery that we desire that you take a moment, enjoy each other's company, enjoy your family. We call it a memorial experience. And what we try to do is find something that's special to Sister Webster so that you might be able to enjoy that while you're gathered still here at her final resting place. And it's my understanding that Sunny D was quite a drink of Sister Webster. Now, if those Sunny D's are not frozen, we have some for you to enjoy. So after you have the opportunity to place a flower upon her casket, would you please enjoy the Sunny D that Vivian brought for each of you? And please remember the feelings which you have felt this day as you have gathered in love to pay respect to Sister Webster. So I invite you to come forward and select a flower, please, and place it in a casket and enjoy your time together. Thank you so much.